team. It's my team. It's my team. It's my team. Yeah, baby. San Francisco 49ers. We are talking about them right now. And in case I hadn't mentioned it, that's my team.
That's your team.
Well, here's something you got to understand.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, okay.
This is first and foremost, I want to point this out. The 49ers have, depending on the sources that you look at, the sites, have the first or second easiest strength of schedule throughout the regular season. That's a big thing. The training camp battle between Trey Lance and incumbent Jimmy Garoppolo should be real interesting. I have not totally given up on Jimmy G. I've seen him have some success in the past, and remember, they would have won that Super Bowl. He overthrew Deebo Samuel, by just 2 or 3 yards, and that would have been the difference. And it was a deep pass. You can't blame the guy for not being pinpoint accurate on a 60-yard pass. But he's got a good arm. He's got a good head. And Bill Belichick thought enough about him that he considered him part of his family, and admitted that to one reporter that he cried the day that they traded Jimmy G. So that should tell you, what one of the greatest football minds ever thinks of him. I do think that Jimmy will win the job initially, but I expect the reins will be passed over to Trey Lance somewhere between weeks 6 and 11, something like that, mid-season, unless Garoppolo outperforms expectations. And the reason I say that is even if, I expect Jimmy will do okay. I do. I think he'll be fine. He's got plenty of good weapons to throw to, and he's got a decent offensive line, so that's really going to help him. But the Niners made that draft pick, and they made that huge trade to move up from number 9 slot to the number 12 spot to the number 3 spot. And there's going to be pressure on them to eventually roll Trey Lance out. They're definitely not going to bench him the entire year. I can guarantee that. A healthier Niners offense should be more than competitive. And I'm a big believer in Deebo Samuel. He really started rising up last year. I think he's going to have a breakout year. He's going to be a stud. If this team cannot stay relatively healthy, though, it's going to be another rough season. We know how things have gone for the 49ers in the last couple of years. Last year especially, they just got decimated by injuries. They have had the worst luck of probably the entire league, all 32 teams, as far as keeping their guys healthy and on the field. I'm curious, Steve. I'll have to look into this. It just occurred to me, or I'd have done it during show prep. But I'm curious to see whether the 49ers stuck with the same training staff, and weight room staff and all that, because coaching, I feel like it has to come into that at some point. They've been so beriddled by, decimated by injuries. Isn't preparation part of that? It's got to. It's on some level. I would think coaching plays into that. It'll be interesting to see if Wayne Gallman and draft pick Trey Sermon can pitch in at running back, especially since Jeff Wilson is going to miss at least the first couple of games. Raheem Mostert, though, is plenty capable. The defense should shine. They kind of outperformed expectations last season. And the Niners, to me, always, one of the first things that pops into my head when I think of the 49ers is at least competent, if not solid defense. And Joey Bosa being healthy and coming back is going to be huge. What can you say? He's a monster. This is a well-rounded team. It's got exciting young talent all over the roster, up and down. And one of the easiest strengths of schedule that are out there. Steve, I feel like the Niners are going places this year. However, because the division itself is so tough, they're not going to be that great in the regular season. I think this is a team that's going to be built more towards succeeding in the playoffs. So I kind of feel like they're going to finish somewhere around 11-6, and I do expect that they're going to take the division crown. What do you say?
Well, what we do know about San Francisco, and we also know this about the Rams, and we also know this about Seattle, and we also know this about Arizona. They will lose 3 games for sure.
Right.
Okay? Because I don't think either team will sweep.
We talked last year about how difficult it is to sweep.
So we know they're losing 3 for sure. I don't care how easy their schedule is. More than likely, they're losing 3 games. If they sweep, I'll be shocked. If anybody sweeps in this division, I'll be shocked. But here's the deal with San Francisco. I really like this team. You're right about last year. I think at one point they had more starters hurt than an entire starting lineup. Meaning they get 11 players.
Right.
They had like 13 to 14 starters out.
Right.
They're virtually playing second and third string guys, and they managed to not do that bad last year.
Yeah, even though they had like C.J. Beathard in there for many of the games, they still ended up doing kind of okay considering all the setbacks that they had.
And I'm looking forward to Bosa's return personally.
Yeah,
because I'm a defensive guy.
Yeah.
I believe in defense. I've always believed in defense. I like mauling tackles, big hits, body slams. I'm probably the only guy on the face of the planet that enjoyed, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this because this is really sick, but I got to tell the truth, right? I got to tell the truth. When Myles Garrett took his helmet off, I'm probably the only guy that was like,
shameful.
He tried to yank Myles Garrett, but let's get back to San Francisco. That was last year. That was 2 seasons ago. Let's get to San Francisco. I love defense, but here it's about the quarterback for me because this is my thought on the quarterback, and I think a lot of you will probably jump on my bandwagon with this. You have to start Jimmy G. You cannot put him on the bench. I don't care what you did to get the rookie. I don't care how good he looks in camp. You have to get Jimmy G in there. If he's your future, okay, you have to start Jimmy G game 1, and if things go awry, you put the rookie in. If you start the rookie and things aren't going well, because at the beginning of the season, when do you lose hope? You lose hope around week 9, week 10. You start thinking, I don't think we're going to make it. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're like 4-5, going into week 10, the team has a different mentality versus if you're 7-3 or 6-3.
The other thing about it is Trey Lance went to such a small school. Was it South Dakota State University?
Well, that doesn't bother me none.
Well, I'm saying if he had gone to a major SEC team or something like that,
that doesn't bother me. It doesn't. It doesn't bother me what kind of school he came from. If Kyle Shanahan believes in it, then look.
Well, I'm just saying that kind of works against him as far as getting up to NFL speed, getting used to the pace of the game, things like that. How fast the players operate in the NFL. Sometimes it takes adjusting for a rookie. That's why it's best to let him sit on the bench at first, hold the clipboard. It's been shown time and time again that usually if you let a rookie hold the clipboard for a while, it's going to benefit him in the long run. One of the worst things that you can do is shove a quarterback in there, especially from a smaller school, and just expect that he's going to work it out. But however, in his favor is the fact that the 49ers offense is really suited toward Trey Lance. So when he does take over, it's going to be a little bit easier for him in that respect.
Well, I'm thinking
he's kind of perfect for this offense.
What I'm saying is this: with Jimmy G, you have to take Jimmy G and put him in there because if things go bad for the rookie, and you got to bring Jimmy G in the rest of the season, his confidence is shot. He's done. You may as well trade him. You may as well get rid of him.
Sure.
Yeah, so Jimmy G has to start it. Now, if he's on fire, because what do we know about Jimmy G? We already talked about the Rams and D-Jack, about how if the wind blows, he's hurt. Well, we know Jimmy G's been hurt a lot in his career, and he misses games. And
it's unfortunate.
If I am a 49er fan, what I'm hoping for is the Tony Romo scenario, to where Tony Romo got hurt, Dak comes in and they never look back.
Right.
So what if you're rooting for the kid, then you got to hope Jimmy G goes in, he gets a minor injury, he misses 4 weeks, and the kid lights it up. Therefore, now it's the kid's team. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I want to clarify. It's not like I don't. It's not like I want to see Trey Lance pushed in there necessarily. If Jimmy's doing fine, if Jimmy's doing well, then there really isn't any need to put Trey Lance in toward the middle of the season. But I do foresee that Garoppolo will have a couple of bad games, and maybe he gets injured. Although I would be okay with Lance sitting on the sideline and learning the entire season, I would be shocked if he didn't, at some point end up being the starter. And hey, maybe it's one of those things where they have a 2 or 3 game slide, and toward the middle of the season or 2/3 of the way through the season, week 12 or whatever, the Niners decide to put Lance in there and see what he's got for a couple of weeks, and maybe then they decide, well, he's not quite ready, and they go back to Garoppolo. It doesn't mean that the team's going to tank. This team has loads of talent everywhere. And just to wrap the segment up, Steve, I just want to cover my bases because I didn't mention his name at all for any reason. I don't have a reason to mention his name now, but I have to say George Kittle, George Kittle, George Kittle.
Well, we all know what a stud he is, and he's going to be the biggest crutch Trey Lance has.
I hope he stays healthy.
When you have a player like George Kittle.
I hope he stays healthy.
When you have a player like George Kittle, that is, the crutch you need. I mean, all great quarterbacks had a guy like George Kittle when you think about it. And sometimes you actually wonder who really is the greatest quarterback. When you look at all the championships that people hail these quarterbacks, the weapons they've had, you know what I mean? You got to have those weapons too. And
it's exciting. It's hard not to get excited about this team.
It is.
You got guys that are deep threats. Debo has some really good speed.
There's no doubt about it.
And he can streak down the field. You got Kittle as an outlet and 10, 12 yards up or 20 yards up. And taking him down, you might as well try to hire a dump truck and slam into him because the guy is just a freak physically.
Well, we're going to find out what happens here with the NFC West and the San Francisco 49ers.
You think they're going to win the division?
They could. They very well could. It's all about injuries. I've said that for years, and I will always stick by that. At NFL Weekly Predictions, we invite you to like and subscribe to our show. Join in the NFL and other sports discussions here. We'd love to have you join our NFL Weekly Prediction family right here from Cheap Seat Sports.